Welcome back to Stock Talk, everyone.
Good to be here.
Today we're doing a deep dive into D-Wave Quantum Inc., specifically their Q1 2025 financial results.
Right.
So if you're following the quantum computing space, maybe looking for a quick way to get up to speed on their latest performance, well, you're in the right place.
Exactly. We've got their earnings report right here, and we're going to pull out the key bits.
And hey, if you find this valuable, do us a favor, hit subscribe, give us a like, maybe drop a comment. It really helps us know what you find useful.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's get right into it then. D-Wave's first quarter, some pretty big numbers jumping out.
Oh, definitely. The headline that just, grabs you is that record revenue, $15.0 million.
15 million. And the growth rate.
Yeah, that's the staggering part. 509% year over year. I mean, that's not just big. It's the highest quarterly revenue they've ever had.
Yeah.
Suggests a real shift, maybe.
A five-fold increase is, well, pretty remarkable. And the report says the main driver was selling one of their quantum systems.
That's right. An Advantage system sale to the Jülich Supercomputing Center over in Germany.
And this wasn't just any sale, right? It's their first Advantage system to that particular center.
Precisely. And that's important because Jülich is, a major player in high-performance computing. Them buying a D-Wave system sends a pretty strong signal. It's validation.
Okay, so that explains the revenue surge, but it wasn't just the top line that looked good, was it? Gross profit?
No, that's a huge jump, too. Record gross profit, $13.9 million. That's up 736% year over year.
Wow.
And the gross margin itself shot up 92.5%.
92.5%. That's huge. It was only, what, 67% last year?
Yeah, 67.3% in Q1 2024. The report basically says that higher margin is, well, mostly because of recognizing that system sale revenue. Hardware sales often carry better margins than, say, cloud access time.
Got it. So big revenue, big profit margin on that revenue. How did that translate down to the bottom line, overall profitability?
Also improved significantly, which is, another good sign. Their net loss dropped quite a bit, down to $5.4 million from $17.3 million in Q1 last year. So that's a 69% reduction in their loss.
Okay, that's a serious improvement. And per share.
Yeah, per share was a $1.02 loss this quarter, compared to an all-over 11-cent loss a year ago.
So heading in the right direction on net loss, what about other metrics like adjusted EBITDA?
Same story there. Adjusted EBITDA loss also decreased quite a bit, by 53%, down to $6.1 million. It suggests, maybe their core operations are getting leaner as they grow.
Right. And for a company in quantum, which, let's face it, burns through cash, their cash position is always critical. The report mentioned a record level.
It did. They ended Q1 with $304.3 million in cash.
Wow, over $300 million.
Yeah, which is way up from the $178 million they had at the end of 2024. A big chunk of that increase came from raising capital.
How do they raise it?
Mostly through their ATM program. They pulled in about $146.2 million in net proceeds that way.
Okay, ATM program, maybe just quickly explain that for a listener.
Sure. ATM stands for at the market. It basically lets D-Wave sell shares directly into the market over time, kind of opportunistically, instead of doing one big offering all at once. It's flexible.
Gotcha. And that clearly helped boost their cash significantly.
It did. And importantly, management actually stated they believe this cash pile is enough to fund the company all the way to profitability.
That's a bold statement in this field. A real vote of confidence from them.
It certainly is. We'll see, but it's what they're saying.
Okay, so strong financials overall. Let's shift gears a bit.
Yeah.
What about other key metrics, business developments, customers?
Right, customer numbers. They saw a small increase. Total customers up to 133 from 128.
Okay. And the mix?
69 are commercial customers.
Yeah.
And interestingly, 25 of those are Forbes Global 2000 companies. So big names dipping their toes in, or more.
Right. And the rest?
52 research organizations and 12 government clients. So still a pretty diverse base.
Okay. Now, one number that went the other way was bookings. Down quite a bit, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's true. Bookings for Q1 were $1.6 million, which is down 64% from the $4.5 million they booked in Q1 last year.
Should we be worried about that? A drop in new business signed?
Well, it's definitely something to watch going forward. But the report gives some important context. Remember that huge revenue number?
Yeah, the $15 million.
That came from converting previous bookings into revenue. Specifically, that big Jülich system sale. So you could argue this quarter was more about delivering on past deals then signing lots of new small ones.
Okay, so like they cash in a big chip they already had on the table.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
The revenue reflects past success in booking that deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, you'd want to see bookings pick back up in the coming quarters.
Makes sense. What else happened on the business front? They had their user conference, Corbet's 2025.
They did. And apparently it went very well. Record attendance. In-person attendance was up 23%. And get this, virtual attendance nearly doubled.
Wow. So interest seems to be growing, at least among your user base.
That's what it suggests. More people engaging, wanting to learn, wanting to use the tech.
And they highlighted some actual use cases, right? Real world stuff. Ford Otosan.
Yes. This one's pretty cool. Ford Otosan, they make cars, obviously part of Ford. They've actually deployed a hybrid quantum application into production.
Deployed, not just testing.
In production.
Yeah.
For scheduling the Ford Transit assembly line. And the results are impressive. They cut the time it takes to schedule 1,000 vehicles from 30 minutes down to under 5 minutes.
That's a 6x improvement.
Exactly. That's a tangible, real-world benefit happening now. It's not just theory anymore.
That is a strong proof point. Anything else like that? I think pharmaceuticals were mentioned.
Right. Japan Tobacco's pharma division. They did a proof of concept with D-Wave, combining quantum with AI for drug discovery. And the results, they say, were promising. They found potentially better molecular structures for new drugs compared to what classical computers came up with. Still early stages of PC, but very interesting potential there.
Definitely. Okay, let's talk tech breakthroughs. The report mentions quantum supremacy. That sounds like a big deal.
It is. It's a landmark claim, really. Quantum supremacy, or quantum advantage, basically means their quantum computer did something useful that's practically impossible for even the best classical supercomputers.
Okay. What was the task?
It was a simulation of magnetic materials, a complex physics problem. D-Wave's annealer apparently did it in minutes.
And a classical supercomputer.
They estimate it would take Frontier, one of the world's fastest supercomputers at Oak Ridge National Lab, almost 1 million years, and consume more electricity than the whole world uses.
Whoa, 1 million years versus minutes?
Exactly. And this wasn't just some abstract benchmark problem, they argue. It's a useful, real-world scientific simulation. Plus, it was validated in a peer-reviewed paper in Science.
Okay, so that's potentially huge. The first time quantum supremacy has been shown on a practical problem, not just a theoretical one.
That's the argument D-Wave is making, and the Science paper gives it weight. It suggests their approach is starting to offer real advantages for certain types of problems.
Very interesting. Are they also moving ahead with their next-gen hardware Advantage 2?
Yes, they've physically assembled the first Advantage 2 system. It's down in Huntsville, Alabama, at Davidson Technologies.
And what's the plan for that one?
It's currently being calibrated and tested. But significantly, it's intended for mission-critical applications, particularly in national defense. So think secure, demanding government work.
Moving into more sensitive areas, what about software? Any updates there?
Yeah, they're improving their hybrid quantum solvers. These are important because most real problems need a mix of quantum and classical computing.
Right. What's new?
They've added support for continuous variables, specifically with linear interactions. This opens up new types of optimization problems they can tackle, things like budget allocation or resource distribution, where the choices aren't just yes, no, but fall along a spectrum.
Okay, expanding the range of problems they can help solve.
Exactly. And they listed some new application areas they're targeting too, like offer allocation, portfolio optimization, maintenance repair operations, broadening the potential market.
And there is something about quantum blockchain. What's that about?
Yeah, some research they published, a paper called Blockchain with Proof of Quantum Work.
Okay.
Their research suggests that using quantum computation for the hashing part of blockchain, the proof of work, could potentially cut the electricity costs by like 1,000 times compared to classical methods.
1,000 times. That would be massive, given how much energy crypto mining uses.
It would. It's still research, mind you, not a product yet. But it points to some potentially disruptive applications down the road if it pans out.
Okay, so strategically pulling this together. Clearly, driving commercial adoption is key, right? Like with Ford Otosan.
Absolutely. Getting those production deployments, those successful PEPOLICs like with Japan Tobacco, that's critical for showing value.
And integrating with traditional supercomputing, like the Jülich deal.
Yes, that's another big pillar. Connecting their Advantage system to Jüllich's exascale machine. The idea is that quantum and classical HPC working together can unlock breakthroughs, especially in AI and complex optimization, that neither could do alone.
And the advantage, too, going into Davidson Tech points towards a push into national security.
Right. A potentially lucrative, albeit demanding, market.
Plus the ongoing software work and exploring things like quantum blockchain for the future.
Exactly. It looks like a multi-pronged strategy.
Okay, let's circle back quickly to the financials and outlook. We mentioned the record cash. Anything else stand out on the balance sheet?
Well, generally it looks stronger. Total assets are up. Total liabilities are down. Stockholders' equity improved quite a bit. All generally positive signs of financial health improving.
And management feels good about hitting profitability with the cash they have now.
That's their stated confidence, yes.
Yeah.
Supported by that big cash balance. But, the report itself is realistic. It points out things to keep an eye on.
Right, like the bookings decline we talked about.
Exactly. That's one. Also, operating expenses are still increasing, which isn't unexpected for a growing tech company, but needs watching.
And the path to sustainable profit, not just getting there once.
Precisely. And whether they can consistently make these big system sales, or if this quarter was a bit of an outlier, thanks to Jülich. And, of course, the competitive landscape. It's moving fast.
Okay, so wrapping this all up, what's the big picture takeaway from D-Wave's Q1?
I'd say the main story is significant progress on multiple fronts. Really impressive financial numbers for the quarter revenue, margins, reduced losses.
Driven largely by that system
Yeah,
sale.
largely by that sale, yes. But also, that claim of quantum supremacy on a practical problem is a major technical flag planted in the ground.
And the real-world applications starting to emerge, plus the strong cash position, those are definite positives.
They absolutely are. It paints an encouraging picture. But, it's still early days for commercial quantum computing. Those areas report flags for monitoring bookings, expenses, competition. They're important to watch to see if this momentum continues.
Right. So maybe some food for thought for you listening.
Yeah.
What are the real implications if quantum computers start regularly achieving supremacy on useful real-world problems?
Yeah.
How could that change things across different industries? What are the maybe longer-term societal impacts down the road? Something to ponder.
Definitely worth thinking about.
Well, thanks for digging into D-Wave's Q1 with us.
My pleasure.
And thank you for tuning into this deep dive. If you found this breakdown helpful, please do subscribe to Stock Talk. Give us that like, maybe leave a comment. We really appreciate your support. Catch you next time.